Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another day, another album. Brand new day. Let's go see what the RNG machine says we're talking about today. Alright, so today we're talking about the classic comeback album of New York legend Nas, Stillmatic. Immediately he's making comparisons between his work here and with his groundbreaking debut, Illmatic. And while he doesn't exactly recreate the impact of that album, he does bring solid East Coast hip-hop that does reestablish why he deserves the coastal throne. At this point in Nas's career, he was starting to see a decline in music quality and credibility in the industry. Coming off of the heels of his legendary quote-unquote failure, Nostradamus, that I think is a little overhated, and the lukewarm reception of his actual worst album, I Am, Nas was beginning to seem like he was aging out of a genre that he was instrumental in creating. Most pertinent to this album's legacy, however, is Jay-Z, who had recently released one of his most acclaimed albums, introducing the world to the production of one Kanye West, as Jay opened the blueprint with a scathing diss track, Takeover. This album, and the first full track, is Nas's reply. Stillmatic is mostly remembered for its opening response track, Ether, but does contain a solid album of boom bap from one of the best to ever do it. The Stillmatic intro, for example, comes in with a triumphant beat, as Nas lyrically flexes about why he's back and revitalized. An absolute banger that was what this album really needed to show that Nas was worth taking seriously this time. Of course, the main event of this album is Ether, the first full track of the album and Nas's response to Takeover. I actually listened to Takeover for the first time before listening to this album, and having heard both tracks basically back to back, I think that Ether is the superior track. While I don't have much bad to say about either song, in all honesty, I think Ether is the superior because the production hits a bit harder and Nas's delivery has a kind of feel every syllable type of vibe that shares similarities with my personal favorite diss track of all time.
We talking character, let me keep with the facts. You are hiding a child, let that boy come home. Deadbeat motherfucker playing border patrol.
Nas questions Jay-Z's connection to Biggie being as strong as Jay reports it was, how Jay sold out and abused women, which is kinda rich coming from Nas, and how Jay wouldn't be anything without Nas. And honestly, he's kinda right. Nas is the rock all East Coast boom bap is built on, and Jay was at his most boring trying to do that sound, in my opinion. Ignoring the drops of the F slur across both tracks, this song packs a punch and establishes why beef with Nas is anything but a guaranteed victory. Despite how most people talk about this album, there are more songs after Ether, and the track that immediately follows, Got Yourself a Gun, shows a killer chorus and some gangsta bars from Nas. The production here is also great, having at least one catchy element in every part of the song. Smokin' is a low-key banger that brings some slick early 2000s sheen to the album. It's a point of growth for Nas since his last few albums were already feeling dated at that time. His flows and storytelling here are particularly great on the verses. This is another solid track. Your Demand is an alright song with a knocking beat, and Nas giving thanks for the good things that fame and fortune have brought him. It's an alright song, although it's not a particular favorite of mine from this album. Rewind is an interesting song, as Nas describes shooting up an op, but in reverse, showing the entire process from the op being found to the trigger being pulled. It's short and well written, if a bit boring on the flow and production. One Mic brings the low-key sounds of the early 2000s R&B into his world of gangsta rap as he raps about how he wants life to be simple again and how the obstacles in his life have prevented that, mixed with his usual layer of social commentary as well. This is another favorite track of mine from this album. Second Childhood had a bass line that I absolutely love as Nas gives an ode to the youth and reminisces on his own youth. It's just such a great song, I really don't have much to say about it. Another solid hit. Destroy and Rebuild sees Nas become combative as he saves his home in Queens from quote-unquote weak rappers. In particular, Cormega, who was on It Was Written but got in a series of legal disputes with Nas back in 1999, Prodigy of Mobb Deep, who Cormega featured on a song, and Naughty, who replaced Cormega in a group Nas managed but also left under less than harmonious circumstances. Nas brings another banger diss track with honestly an even better beat and delivery than Ether. The Flyers sees a reunion between AZ and Nas with a great chorus as they talk about their street upbringing and their lyrical ability. Another solid song, great performances from everyone involved here. Rule featuring Omari of One Thing fame sees Nas actually make a good song from a prominent 80s samples. This time, Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. Emery's performance on the chorus is a pretty solid interpolation, and Nas's lyrics about the ills of the world with some great production really make this song a standout. My Country sees Nas lean further into the political over production that isn't quite as catchy as Rule. Nas's flow is pretty good, but honestly, the first line of the chorus being "My country shitted on me" kind of ruins the rest of the song for me. What Goes Around is another political cut, and this is probably the low point on the album. Vaccines Are Poison, calling Allen Iverson a are my main reasons for skipping this song, because even if I kind of like the sound and production, Nas can still ruin a good track by writing the absolute wrong fucking thing. This is apparently the closing track though, with an extra bonus song, Every Ghetto, coming right after. It's a good track, but it honestly kind of reads as a better closer than What Goes Around. This album was, of course, successful and well remembered as a clapback to Jay-Z, but the album as a whole is a solid release from Nas and a pick-me-up into this next era of his career from some of the worst music he would ever make. Stillmatic isn't quite Nas at his prime, but he shows he's not down for the count yet. Stillmatic by Nas is a 7 out of 10 and currently sits at number 249 on my list of albums. Be sure to let me know your favorite Nas song in the comments, and I'll see y'all for the next review. Pieces.